Jayden DeLaura withdrawals from Texas State. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Dave Schultz back with another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, we'll go over the Wednesday basketball action in a little bit and preview the Thursday basketball action coming up later on today, but it never ends in San Marcos. I don't know how crazier this can get unless TJ Finley returns to play for Texas State. So in the middle of watching one of the Reacher movies today, get a tweet or a DM from somebody that tweeted out, somebody else had tweeted out that Jayden DeLaura has withdrawn from Texas State. This is insane what has gone on in in less than 2 weeks. So this is what I came up with, and I saw others do it as well. Today is the 24th, or yesterday was the 24th. Or today's the 25th. Yesterday was the 24th. January 11th, TJ Finley returning to Texas State. Took a little bit longer than everybody thought it would, but eventually he returns. All right. Jayden DeLaura on the 14th settles a civil lawsuit, which I'm not sure we knew of at the time because we didn't really care at the time. Then January 15th, DeLaura transfers to Texas State. All right, that was a little bit odd. And then later on, the next day, Finley enters the transfer portal. That didn't take very long. On the 22nd, Finley transfers to Western Kentucky. And on the 24th, yesterday, DeLaura leaves Texas State. We did not include on January 2nd, Malik Hornsby transferring from Texas State to Arkansas State and changing positions, apparently, becoming a wide receiver. And Craig Stutzman, the quarterback's coach for Texas State, who apparently was vouching for Jayden DeLaura, he took the San Jose State job. So a lot is going on. We did this is the fifth Texas State, at least starting portion of the podcast to begin with, right? We had TJ Finley returning to Texas State. We had Texas State's TJ Finley into the portal, and that's probably when we did Jayden DeLaura, because I think we had the Kane Womack stuff in between. And then what is going on at Texas State? And then as the Texas State Bobcats turn. So this is episode number 5, where we are featuring Texas State to begin with. I know it's sort of it doesn't come off. It is a, Sunbelt West kind of slanted podcast. And I apologize. I need to do a better job with that. But it is insane what's been going on. All right. And so some of this is on, the athletic department, GJ Kinney. Some of it is on TJ Finley. Obviously, a lot of it is on Jayden DeLaura, right? If you are not accused, if you don't do the things that you were accused of doing, this would not have been a problem. So again, if you've missed this, although we've talked about it incessantly, as we mentioned, Finley comes back to Texas State. Then Jayden DeLaura transfers to Texas State. And then Finley leaves. Then we find out about all the stuff about Jayden DeLaura, which I got to believe that they knew about. And GJ Kinney in Texas State put out a statement. He never pled guilty to criminal charges, but he settled a civil lawsuit. Well, in Hawaii, there are no criminal charges for that kind of crime, I guess, if you want to call it that, because they're minors. So that was kind of playing with the language a little bit. They tried to justify what they did. And then the only coach that they named by name was Craig Stutzman, who is now as the San Jose State offensive coordinator. And then while this was all going on over the last couple of days, Western Kentucky announces and TJ Finley announces he's going to Western Kentucky. You do have to give it up to the University Star, the student newspaper. Again, a few weeks ago, G.J. Kinney, well, maybe not. I don't want to bring politics in. I could say G.J. Kinney could have run for governor. All right, I don't want to bring the Governor Abbott into this. He's got a lot going on over there. I'm not getting into this, but it's just a saying, a cliche. He could run for governor. That's how popular G.J. Kinney was. Certainly could have run for mayor of San Marcos. And they made a mistake. They tried to part of it why it's TJ Finley's fault is because he waited a long time, and GJ Kinney can't be caught with pants. Well, maybe we're not going to say that either. All right, so we're not going to use that cliche. He needs to be prepared in case TJ Finley left. And this happens all the time. All right, it's not great, but it happens all the time that offers are withdrawn. So we have signing day coming up here, in a couple of weeks, and you will see right before signing day. You're certainly seeing it now. You see these kids who have been committed for schools, not for a couple of weeks, not for a couple of months, but like 6 months or 8 months. I like to thank all the coaches and, all of the people that I've gotten to meet and all the other recruits, but I'm going to open up my recruitment is open again. That is most of the time, not all the time, but I believe most of the time, that is the coaching staff taking the scholarship away and saying, you need to move on. And so it saves face, basically, is what it does. It doesn't make the kid look bad. The kid gets to say, thank you, I've changed my mind, I'm going to go somewhere else. But in essence, it's the team telling the player, you need to go somewhere else, all right? That happens all the time. And you'll see it if we haven't even seen it already. And so when TJ Finley came back, GJ Kinney probably should have told Jayden DeLaura, thanks, but no. Sorry, we were interested. I'm sorry for the timing. It stinks. I get it. But I got to go with the guy who brought me 8 wins and a bowl victory. All right. At the same time, hasn't been that fast, but they kind of nipped this in the bud before it got too out of control. I think there was a protest on campus on Friday where there was one scheduled. This was not going to go well for GJ Kinney, the athletic department, or Jayden DeLaura. And he just says, I don't need this, right? I need to figure out on how I can get my life back on track. And I presume GJ Kinney did the same thing. Like, you need to go. Maybe Jayden did the whole thing on his own, but maybe, someone said, why don't you withdraw and we just move on? And it makes us look good. I mean, the whole statement was one sentence. Jayden DeLaura has withdrawn as a student at Texas State University and will not be part of the Texas State football program. That is it. That's the whole statement from Texas State. It has been a fiasco from the start. As if this time isn't tough enough with kids transferring in and kids transferring out and, early enrollees, getting into school and, picking up the program and starting the workouts and everything that goes on with the college football program. And Texas State brought on a headache that they did not need. Again, the University Star needs some props. They got the statement from GJ Kinney. They did the reporting. They wrote a pretty heavy editorial, putting wins in front of ethics and morals. And obviously that hit home with somebody. Maybe hit home with Jayden DeLaura. I don't know. But they have moved on. Right now on the Texas State roster, the quarterbacks are P.J. Hatter, 6'2", 185-pound redshirt freshman. That may be from last night or from last year. Carson Kaiser, 6'3", 210-pound redshirt sophomore. And Brad Jackson, 5'11", 180-pound freshman. So those are probably last year's. Let's see here. No, that's this year. It says 2024 roster. So that's what they're looking at moving forward. We'll see if they bring somebody in. Jordan, as I pointed out, taking a quick look, among others, Jordan McLeod is still in the transfer portal, the Sunbelt Player of the Year from JMU. He's looking for a home. You also have Jarrett Guest from Coastal Carolina. So there are some quality candidates still available, and I would presume that GJ Kinney has already been on the phone with many different quarterbacks to see who would fit and if they are interested in going to Texas State. All right. I'm sure there'll be more. We're going to get another transfer in. And again, the only way that this would be any crazier is if TJ Finley comes back. I don't know. I guess that is feasible these days, but that would certainly be a whirlwind of a couple of weeks. All right, let's take a timeout. College basketball on Wednesday night. It kind of got the games that we were expecting. It's just not really good matchups right now. Nothing tonight either, for the most part. The better matchups will be on Saturday. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we will talk about the Wednesday night action. Troy bounces back after a couple of road losses. They snap their 2-game losing streak. We'll do that next after I tell you a little bit about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all of the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's check out the action from Wednesday night in the Sun Belt. The game that I watched James Madison in Old Dominion, and I got this one wrong in a big way. Thought Old Dominion make cover. It was 8.5. I think I saw 7.5 on Wednesday. All James Madison, 78-62. They got this ball game up to a 23-point lead. Terrence Edwards got tossed. It didn't look good when you saw it. He kind of pushed RJ Blakeney down. RJ Blakeney did a dive as well. There was a little shove in the shoulder, and we're in award season, and Blakeney needed a little mini Oscar for that performance because he got Edwards tossed out. Edwards wasn't having a particularly good game despite James Madison's easy win. Only had 6 points on 1 of 6 shooting. Wooden had 23 points for the Dukes. Noah Friedel had 15. Let's see here. Bickerstaff had 12, and Brown had 10. Williams had 14, and Jenkins had 10 for the Monarchs. Off the bench, Ouellette had 15. Should mention ODU tried to come back a couple of times. They had a shot. They got it down to 11. That 8.5-point spread was being challenged, but all JMU. They're now 18-2, 6-2 in the conference. ODU 5-15, 1-7 in the conference. The big matchup on Saturday, JMU visits lovely Boone, North Carolina, to take on App State. All right, Troy, they snapped their 2-game losing streak, 78-65 over Texas State. This was close at the end of the first half, but Troy goes on a 9-1 run to take a 5-point lead. They were down 33-30 and went into halftime 39-34 ahead. And then it was close for about 7-8 minutes in the second half, and then Troy built a 10-point lead, and the Trojans again win it by 13, 78-65. Rigsby had 20 points for Troy on 7 to 10 shooting. Also grabbed 9 rebounds off the bench. Christian Eugene had 17. Is that right? Coming off the bench. Okay. He had 17, and Conaway, he had 14. Rigsby was the only one who played more than 30 minutes for the starters. Again, Troy plays a lot of players, but Eugene still played 26 minutes. Conaway played 24, and it's spread pretty evenly throughout for Troy. For Texas State, you did have Dawson with 12 points on 4-12 shooting. Troy improves to 12-8. They are 6-2 in the conference. They will host South Alabama, who beat them last week. They beat them before the weekend. So a chance for Troy to get one back from their rivals from the South. Texas State drops to 7-13, 1-7 in conference play. I wasn't sure which way this was going to go. I went the way of the home team, and Marshall snaps their 3-game losing streak with a 77-68 win over Georgia State. Georgia State all of a sudden has lost 3 in a row. So 77-68, Marshall beats Georgia State. Georgia State had a lead at half, 30-29, but mostly all Marshall in the second half. Let's see here. And Kelly Keelan had 22 points. Martin had 15, and Kerfman had 13. For Georgia State, Odom had 21, and Lane had 15. Tucker off the bench had 11. Marshall improves to 10-11, 5-3 in conference play. Georgia State drops to 9-10 and 4-4 in conference play. And Southern Miss continues to roll. Again, no Andre Curbelo and no Victor Hart. And they easily beat Coastal Carolina 79-63. Rather dominating performance by the Golden Eagles. Austin Crowley played all 40 minutes. Ouch. He played all 40 minutes. Didn't have all that particularly good of a game. Did dish out 7 assists, 7 points on just 2 of 10 shooting. Ivory led the way, though, with 28 points, and Montgomery had 11. Armstrong had 10 off of the bench for Southern Miss. For Coastal Carolina, Meyer had 14 points. Ojiako had 10. Off the bench, easily had 18 points for Coastal Carolina. Southern Miss improves to 12-8, 6-2 in the conference, and Coastal Carolina drops to 5-14. Overall, 2-6 in the conference. Who does Southern Miss have on? So they're at Marshall on Saturday. See, Southern Miss, they're at Marshall, at Arkansas State, and at Texas State. Those were all very winnable ball games. Not the easy. I mean, Marshall all of a sudden has lost 3 in a row. Arkansas State, these games are going to be tough on the road. Even Texas State, but they have a little bit of a shot to go on a little bit of a run. The back of the end of the season is not going to be easy. They play South Alabama and the Cajuns on back-to-back weekends. First at home and then on the road. So they have to set themselves up to be in a position to, if they do split those weekend series, they'll be in good shape. So they have to do they have to win now, basically. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll preview Thursday's action, tonight's action. Cajuns are hosting Arkansas State. Brian Hodgson, a new dad, so congratulations to him. And we'll preview those matchups on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day, when we come back. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, continuing to thank you for subscribing. We're getting a couple of subscribers here and there. Please, if you see the video on YouTube, please like it. Please share it. It's a big help. Softball is not too far away. Baseball is right around the corner as well. Less than a month to go. We're getting some good comments. I'm getting some messages as well. So that's very kind. And I do appreciate people are filling me in. It's tough to follow all 14 teams. getting all of the inside information. So I appreciate any comments and information you give me. One of the guys, I think Mark, filled me in on the Dexter Williams transfer to Georgia Southern. I had not seen that, so I appreciate that. Please, in any of the comments, I will reply well, the person replying is me. So if you're wondering, it is absolutely me. Also, for the audio podcast, please, you can find that wherever you find your audio podcast. Just search Locked On Sunbelt. Apple Podcasts and Spotify appear to be the most popular. So again, thank you so much for subscribing, and let's wrap up this episode of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's check out Thursday's action. As we mentioned, the Cajuns taking on Arkansas State. The Cajuns got going against Arkansas State. All of a sudden, they've won 3 in a row, and it started with a pretty good win against Arkansas State. They were facing a 1-4 start. They had just lost to Troy 79-73 on the road, and Arkansas State's pretty, has turned things around, right, in the Sun Belt compared to what they were doing to begin the season. And the Cajuns kind of won that ball game. Didn't have all that much difficulty with it. 84-77. Then they beat Texas State, and then they beat South Alabama. So they went from Troy to Jonesboro to San Marcos to Mobile. There may have been a couple stops in Lafayette in between. But as we mentioned, this is a very favorable schedule for the Cajuns. We mentioned the favorable schedule for Southern Miss, although a lot of that's on the road. These were all at home. Arkansas State, Texas State, Monroe, South Alabama, and Georgia State. Then you are getting Bowling Green. That's not going to be easy. But those 5 games are on the road. They will be favored in every single one of those ball games, except maybe Bowling Green. We'll see where we are. Although if they have won 8 in a row, they will be favored against Bowling Green. All right, let's see what see if we got a line here. Cajuns 3.5. I'd probably take that. I'd go with the Cajuns. They're not that big of a line at home. It is only 3.5. Hosanna Contingency playing extremely well. The Cajuns need to get a little bit more offensive production and less turnovers from their point guards. We mentioned Themis Folks and Michael Thomas were playing a lot more. And they were 3 for 15 from the floor. Got to have a little bit more offensive production. A lot of that is because they're the ones going to the hoop, and they got to finish at the hoop and then make free throws. All right, App State hosting Georgia Southern. That's not actually a bad matchup. We'll see how Georgia Southern does on the road. They play much better at home. App State 6-1, 15-4 overall. Georgia Southern 4-15, 4-3 overall. App State actually has a quad 1 ranking, if you will. Heard that tonight, heard it last night. Didn't realize it. Auburn, who lost to Alabama, and before this had 16. They're 16-0. And all of those are 2, 3, and 4 quad wins. They're 0-2 with quad 1 games. I was like, well, hold on. How can that be? Well, if you're ranked in the top 75 and you go on the road, that's a quad 1 loss. That's impressive. All right, so App State has a quad 1 win, obviously, but Auburn's loss is a quad 1 loss, and that's to App State. So, although we'll see if App State's NET goes down because Auburn lost. So that could affect them. This is a lot of points. I'd probably stay away from this one. 16.5. That one of those lines where I just don't have a good feeling. I wouldn't be surprised if App State, blows them out, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Georgia Southern gives them a good battle. And then you got Monroe taking on South Alabama. See if South Alabama can turn it around. They had won 3 in a row before they took on the Cajuns last week. Monroe won their first ball game in the Sun Belt on Saturday. That was over ODU. So we'll see what happens there. Both teams have losing records in the conference. South Alabama 10-9 overall, 3-4 in the Sun Belt. Monroe 5-12 overall, 1-6 in the Sun Belt. Monroe is one of those tough places to play. Be careful. Spread is South Alabama by 3.5. I'll take South Alabama on the road. By the way, based on what my picks were, I went 3-1 on Wednesday. I did lose the JMU game, but I did go 3-1 on the picks. It should be duly noted because, well, my picks haven't been all that good. So when I'm winning, I'm going to point it out. All right, we'll be back on Friday to recap what happens in basketball in the Sun Belt and probably more Texas State news. We're bound to have more Texas State news. These guys in the portal do not take long to transfer. So when that starts to go, we could have another quarterback transferring to Texas State. We shall see. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Have a great Thursday, everybody, and we'll talk to you again on Friday.